The story begins with a portal opening in the middle of the sky, and, with it, destruction reached the city and the world, which would later be called the Demon Realm, since fierce and cruel monsters appeared from the portal. After that, some people awakened as hunters, and the beings who awakened mana gained special abilities. And thanks to these hunters, humanity was finally able to fight back. Because of this, over time, the cities were rebuilt, and although many problems still remained, at least some managed to live a normal life. But this was not common, since monsters kept attacking, and to contain the constant threat of them appearing non-stop, the number of hunters who naturally awakened was very small. Because of this, humanity had the idea of creating nothing less than artificial life. This creation was called Chimera Hunter, which had devastating explosive power. The experimental materials included the bodies of prisoners on death row or animals. There were also minerals extracted from inside the portals and demonic cells. This was all of humanity's effort to survive, which eventually enabled the mass production of Chimera Hunters. This was called the ideal combination between science and the hunter community, which drastically reduced people's mortality and saved countless lives. Thus, the world seemed to be, little by little, recovering its former shape. Decades later, in the middle of the night, in an illegal laboratory of chimera research, two scientists were walking, and one of them was relieved since he would only need to check one more person before they could go home. Upon getting closer, the man realizes that the experiment is number 17, and therefore asks to stay away. The scientist says it's fine, since the experiment has a damaged brain, so it won't move without orders. They point to the chimera, telling it to show the right arm, since it is destroyed as a side effect of the experiment. In addition, the scientist asks why he is so afraid, since the person in monster form can barely see. They decide to leave, since that chimera will be discarded anyway, and with that number, 17 remains quiet inside its cage. After that, inside the laboratory director's office, the scientists report that number 17 is useless since the body is damaged, and, in fact, if it were anyone else, it would have already died. The director asks how much time is left, and he replies that at most a month. The director thought it was a pity and ordered to put the chimera in the portal, blocking operations so that it would take care of the rear guard, but not to program the return command since it would be discarded. The next day, in the Demon Realm, in the Rocky Mountain region, a monster charges with everything towards number 17, who only prepares its claws upon seeing the enemy approaching, and, with several simultaneous attacks, cuts the monster into several pieces. Then another colossal monster appears, but he only stomps hard on the ground and flies into the sky with his super jump, immediately obliterating the monster without giving it a chance to react. Other monsters begin to appear and attack, but number 17 always counterattacks first, destroying everything in front of him until a whole devastated field is formed. A nearby Awakened finds it incredible how powerful the Chimera is, and Luan agrees, since only an S-rank Chimera Hunter would be able to annihilate so many monsters with a single attack. Then he looks back and comments that there is no sign that the portal will close, and yet 3 days have already passed. The leader asks not to worry, since as long as they have an S-rank Chimera Hunter on their side, they can resist indefinitely. Then he prepares his sword and cuts down the monsters that were approaching, since they still need to deal with the leftovers. At this moment, the portal begins to act strangely, and Luan shouts that the signal of the red portal's disappearance has been confirmed. The leader says it's over and shouts for everyone to retreat through the portal. Meanwhile, number 17 continues fighting the monsters, and, while everyone flees, Beatrice asks if they will not take the Chimera with them. The leader orders to leave him behind since they did not receive orders to bring him back. She asks if he is sure since it will be costly, and he only replies that the scientist said the lifespan of number 17 was already over anyway. She confesses that she feels a little bad, since if it weren't for him, the damage would have been much greater, and the leader questions why worry for nothing since the chimeras are practically inorganic. Basically, they are beings that only follow the orders of their masters. Number 17 is bitten on the arm, but continues to fight bravely since his mission is to protect the hunter's rear guard. And even while being attacked by bizarre monsters, he prepares himself and destroys everything around him with his powerful strength. After slaughtering the monsters and even losing a hand, he believes in his mind that the mission was complete. However, when thinking of returning, Command informs that it is not allowed. On this day, the results of the mission of the Chimera Hunter number 17, who met his end, had as outcome the death of 0 hunters and a total of 1823 monsters slain. At the moment of his death, in his mind, his unrecorded past vaguely emerges, and the fact that one day was a full year and that he was kidnapped at 9 years old surfaced in his head as memories. A panorama of his life passed before his eyes, and unfortunately, the damaged brain could not properly understand the meaning of those scenes. He only calmly watched everything and his past life 79 years ago in the orphanage of District 13. He was just a child who didn't even have a name. 70 years ago, his caretaker questioned why he had hit a friend with a stone. Because of this, he was expelled from the orphanage, even though the outside was absurdly cold because of the snow. He reached the point of collapsing on the ground exhausted, and several boys witnessed it, and in their minds, they only wondered how much a child would be worth. After that, he was already imprisoned in a forest, and the scientist only asked if it was a new experimental subject. They discussed that he was number 17, and that he was probably under a spell to prevent escape. One of the scientists ordered to register that number 17 would receive an injection of SS-class silkworm larva cells. After this application, they decided they would wait to see the reaction. Sometime later, they were incredulous since there were no side effects, including a special ability that appeared while the human form and ego were maintained. They decided they would continue implanting various things until some reaction appeared. 64 years ago, number 17 was prepared to defeat a beast in front of him, and with his blast of power, eliminated everything, even creating a trail of destruction. A woman near the place only thanked him for saving her, and one of the hunters apologized to the MC for putting all that weight on a child. 59 years ago, he was paralyzed in front of the defeated monsters, trying to understand why he was there and what he had been doing moments before. At that moment, a scientist seemed to question why he had stopped and whether perhaps his memory was confused. Then he began laughing like a madman since finally the side effects had begun to appear. 54 years ago, the scientist was making his notes, since the result of the implantation of more than 500 types of monster cells over 15 years made the boy become an almost immeasurable S-rank hunter, and they concluded that number 17 was the greatest success of the laboratory. 20 years ago, a girl gave a piece of meat to number 17, who already in his monster form devoured it instantly. She warned everyone that she was sure number 17 would eat it, but they found the scene disgusting. 3 days ago, the MC was battling against all 1,800 monsters from the portal until finally giving in since all his missions had been completed, and he found himself in the midst of all the destruction he had caused to protect the hunters. His spine, which was on the ground, began to emit an intense glow and react in an unexpected way. With a total of 527 types of monster cells implanted, Chimera Hunter number 17 was taking a new form, and, after another intense glow formed from his new body, he finally appeared in his human form, questioning what had happened and if by any chance he was human again. He kept observing his arm with claws and realized he still had abilities from the monster cells in his body, and therefore could not say he was completely human. Then he realized that a lot of time had passed, and since the laboratory had not come to get him, he confirmed he had been discarded. He also noticed that the experiment number on his post had disappeared, and that must mean he would no longer need to be involved with the research. He reflected that his body becoming like this must be the ability of an immortal type that can revive up to 3 times as long as its core is not destroyed, but that left him confused since, as far as they had said, human and immortal cells could not fuse. Even so, he did not care about that, because what mattered was that his body was completely recovered at its peak. The MC considered that after his body went through several side effects from the experiments, maybe it was now in ideal condition, and he remembered that since the effects began, his head always seemed surrounded by a haze, in addition to all the spells the scientists had engraved to prevent escape or rebellion. So, if his life as number 17 had come to an end, he could probably live as a simple human. He remembered a conversation with the orphanage director, who told him to try to live helping people consciously since he had a strange body, and if he helped 1,000 people, it would be a good path. The man asked if Dawoon understood. He smiled at the memory and thought it was nonsense since there was no way an orphan from the slums could help other people. He reflected on what he should do from that moment on, maybe something like revenge. But even revenge would need a target before him, and all he imagined was that so much time had passed that his desire for revenge no longer burned like before. To make matters worse, it was not possible to go to the human world at that moment. He knew that one day he would find those responsible for the experiments, but he would leave that for when the time came. Only then did he look down and realize he was naked, so he shouted that he had decided, at that moment, he would live a little as a human. Then he walked away trying to remember the last time he wore clothes, since he had been a monster. After walking for a while, he arrived at a forest and started thinking about what materials his clothes should be made of to be resistant, until something caught his attention. He noticed there was a slain monster. He wondered if there had been some territorial fight and believed that the fallen monster must have been strong since it had no serious injuries. Concluding that it had probably died of poisoning, he prepared his hand, since he was after leather, and upon concentrating, he noticed his arm had changed shape, creating a blade to make what he was about to do easier. He also remembered learning in the laboratory that he should first cut the belly and then make the cuts in the other body parts. Dawoon began to cut slowly, and, at the same moment, a strong jet of poison came out of the body, revealing an extremely poisonous aura. However, his body suffered no damage, and all he noticed was that the body had a different smell. He finally finished and thought it was incredible for a first attempt. Then he placed the leather in the river and got frustrated, since for a moment he thought it was soft, but it was tougher than normal. Maybe because it was from a monster. Because of that, he had an idea and began punching the leather in all directions without stopping, believing that something like that would work. After some time, he realized it had finally become soft and began calculating only if the size was right or not. Suddenly, a flame began to burn on the head of the monster that had already been finished, and it woke up out of nowhere while the MC was still adjusting the leather. Dawoon then made a hole with his hand and put on his clothes, which were finally perfect to use. Only then did he realize the poison had not completely left the clothes, and he turned around, since he had been hearing noises, unable to believe the monster was not dead. So, he gets startled since the fallen bird is shaking its head as if it were understanding what he was saying. The MC becomes thoughtful about this since apparently the monster is the immortal type, and he knows that if it were before, he would have killed it without hesitation, since the opponent is weak and doesn't even pose a threat, so he doesn't think it is necessary to kill it. He smiles, saying that both are lucky for having received a second chance, and because of that, he thinks they should take advantage of it. He walks away while saying that if fate allows, they will meet again somewhere else. After some time walking, he enters a cave and considers that he needs a house, since the issue with clothes is already solved. Suddenly, a crack begins to appear, and a colossal monster emerges in front of him, preparing to devour him. Dawoon simply comments that it is too dark and, with a slight movement, cuts off the monster's head, walking away calmly as if nothing had happened. After some time walking, it begins to snow, and he defeats the monsters he encounters along the way as if they were nothing. Only then does he find some mushrooms and, by the smell, realizes they are poisonous. In another place, he finds it too damp and rejects it, as well as another that is too hot and also rejected by the MC. After a while, he reaches a cliff and finds the landscape beautiful, even reflecting that he never thought he would find the demon realm so beautiful. He jumps from the cliff, landing calmly on the ground, since he is determined to explore more, and when looking to the side, he notices that the water is clean and there are still some fish, but soon sees that they are piranha monsters, although he still finds them delicious, since if he catches them to roast, it will feel like a camp. He reflects that in that place there is a natural fish farm, and because of that, it might be interesting to build a house to live right there. After all, it is a place full of flowers and with clean air, and, smiling, he says that he approved it as Dawoon's house. At the same time, in another place, a portal appears out of nowhere, and something jumps out of it, causing destruction on the ground. It is a robot that, when looking to the side, asks if it is in the demon realm. He decides that first he needs a place to build the house, and, with a simple finger movement, shoots a gust of wind that cuts several trees as if they were butter. He approaches the logs and begins to tie them with his powers, needing to separate the wood in good condition. After gathering a sufficient amount, he comments that the ground is too uneven, so once again, he moves his arm and another gust of wind comes out, destroying everything and leveling the area. All he needed to do so far was move his hands and feet the way his heart guided him. Then, he goes to the logs and lifts one with his arm as if it were a straw. He continues working, finding it fun, and it will be his first time building his own house. He proceeds to the stage of placing the planks on the floor and decides that for the walls, he will use monster mucus, since he doesn't have any nails. Dawoon begins spreading the slime, because once hardened, it will be solid like stone, and he wonders if it will also be waterproof. His next step is to go for the finishing touches, and, looking up, he says that the monsters won't even try to get close, since in reality, his house looked creepy, made with snail-type monster mucus, silk from silkworm cocoons, and all kinds of weirdness. But the important thing is that he found it very comfortable. On the other hand, his mind keeps hammering, since he is a little disappointed, as if something were missing, and he tries to remember what a house where people live is like. He recalls when he was little, and the scientist showed on a projector what a typical house was like before the gates opened. In the videos he saw in the laboratory, he noticed that many things grew in the garden. He knows he can't raise a dog in the demon realm, and considers whether he should start with a vegetable garden, but he doesn't know what he could plant in that world. Only then does he have an idea, remembering that there is a snowy mountain nearby, and because of that, he can plant some mandrakes. He walks again in the snow, since he knows that the habitat of the mandrakes is around the peak of the snowy mountain, where demonic energy is very strong and in fact is spreading a lot. Because of this, he becomes thoughtful, since on the day he was taken by the laboratory, it also snowed heavily and he was lying on the ground very cold, to the point of even thinking that being kidnapped would be something good. He tries to see the good side of having become a chimera, since it had its advantages, as he does not need to worry about dying of hunger or cold, and after walking for a while, he notices that the demonic energy became strong enough for him to know that he had reached the place he was looking for, in addition to noticing that the snow began to stop. He soon spots the plants and feels happy since he did not waste his trip. These mandrakes are extremely sensitive to stress, like a sunfish-type monster, and they can die even from small environmental changes. He crouches, imagining how he will move them since they are not that adaptable. He pulls one of them from the ground, aware that it would be better to cover his own ears, but finds it strange since the mandrake seems to be sleeping. He decides to look more closely and starts pulling out other mandrakes, and all of them make a strange noise, realizing then that in fact, they are talking while sleeping. The MC knows that the famous mandrake scream is a phenomenon caused by humans cultivating mandrakes artificially, and that, in the human world, where demonic energy is scarce, when these plants are under stress, they let out a thunderous scream when forced to leave the ground, even killing people. He notices that the mandrakes he picked up did not scream, and maybe it is because of the demonic realm, but he does not understand why they are not resisting, since they should be fighting to free themselves. Only then does an idea cross his mind, as if they recognized him as a companion creature, since his own body also contains mandrake cells. He picks up some, finding it interesting that they do not scream, since it will be less stressful, and he even imagines asking them for some roots to make tea, but only when they grow. He also reflects that he heard that pulling them out by force is extremely poisonous, and maybe he should persuade them carefully. After finishing, he looks around since there are probably hunters in the region, although he does not know why they are in the snowy mountains, but he decides that he will take the gate stones. At the same time, some hunters were injured since several monsters were attacking constantly with their frightening mouths. One of the hunters activates his shield magic but begins to worry since little by little, his wall is breaking. His eyes fill with tears because instead of doing what he always does, he went out in search of the chimera. And the moment his shield broke, he screamed loudly, begging for someone to help him. At this moment, a light appears in the sky, and something hits the ground with full force, drawing the attention of all the monsters. The hunters notice a silhouette in the smoke and ask if by any chance it is a person. The MC realizes they are snow rabbits, and that it had been a while since he had seen one. In contrast, in the monster's view, Dawoon was a completely terrifying creature, and because of this, they fled desperately in fear. The hunters, seeing this, cannot believe what they witnessed, since B-rank monsters ran away when looking at a human. The two introduce themselves, and Taehoon asks the MC's name. He answers, and the hunter becomes confused since he had never heard the name Dawoon, in addition to not recognizing the clothes. Then the MC questions why they are in the mountains, since both seem to be D-rank hunters, and the mountains are dangerous. They answer that they are only after money since they received a mission to capture a chimera, and the reward is high. Hearing this surprises the MC, since he himself was a chimera. Taehoon goes on to say that a test subject escaped from the laboratory, and it is a mechanical creature that jumped into the portal while fleeing. The MC hears this and already deduces that they are not referring to himself, since he is a mechanical creature, and even thinks it is better to take the portal stone in order to leave. Then he asks where the luggage of the two is, and if by any chance they teleported from the demonic world with nothing. They respond that their damned colleagues took everything, and, frustrated, he begins to consider that they had planned this from the beginning. After all, the hunters took all the backpacks and fled, while the two were busy fighting the rabbit monsters. Dawoon imagines that the stone gate must be with those hunters who stole the bags. Taehoon asks for permission and questions if by any chance there are plans to return, since they are at their limit, and also asks if he knows what happens if they become contaminated with demonic energy. In that world, the time a hunter can endure in the demonic realm varies according to his class, and if they do not return to the human world in time to purify themselves, the destiny is death. And obviously, this does not apply to the MC. While the two continued their explanations, the MC senses something, immediately jumps in the opposite direction, and all the two can do is watch Dawoon practically flying with his super jump. Near the place, the chimera robot is standing at the top of a cliff. At that moment, several hunters appear shouting to capture it, since all they need to do is attack at once. The robot senses the danger signal and turns, warning that all will be eliminated, and prepares for combat as several hunters are attacking at the same time. Upon arriving at the scene, the MC wonders if he has arrived too late, since a massacre had been carried out in front of him, and he deduces that the hunters fled. He notices that people even left their luggage behind, as well as footprints of children and animals. He is in doubt if the chimera fought by changing form. After all, moments earlier the hunter had said that a subject had escaped from the laboratory and was a mechanical creature that used a portal to escape. He imagines that it is made of liquid metal, so it can freely change form, but since the material is rare, they made the chimera small, so it would be like a child or a large dog. He smiles imagining all this, since the mechanical creature could be someone incredible, as it managed to defeat 5 B-rank hunters alone. Meanwhile, Taehoon tried at all costs to wake up his friend, who said there was nothing else he could do since his entire body had been contaminated with demonic energy. His colleague asked him not to give up, since the man needed to see the birth of his child, which would be in the following month. However, badly injured, he only said to give a message to his wife that he loved her very much. But crying, Taehoon continued asking him to hold on just a little longer, since miracles still exist. At that moment, someone approaches, and the hunter is startled when he looks to the side, as it was Dawoon carrying their luggage. Immediately, he runs and kneels before the MC, begging for help in that critical moment. The MC realizes that he had said he did not have a portal stone, and the kneeling hunter, seeing no other alternatives, offers 2 checks of 10 million, which is all they have in life, and therefore begs him to sell just 1 portal stone, because if they do not escape soon, they will die. Dawoon looks at that amount of 20 million and reflects that he has no use for it at that moment, but knows he will need it when he goes to the human world. Because of this, he takes the stone and hands it to the hunter, making the portal open. Taehoon thanks him from the bottom of his heart, assuring that he will never forget the favor for the rest of his life. The MC looks at the money and, while the two are passing by, he asks if by any chance the stones do not cost 200,000 in the human world. Taehoon, carrying his friend, replies that in that era they are costing 1 million. Dawoon then extends his hand, saying that he has received too much, and, after placing it on the poisoned hunter, states that he will do something about it as change for the exorbitant value he gained. At that moment, it starts to overflow around them, and Taehoon gets scared, wondering if he is injecting mana into Seongju. But soon he worries since he is aware that injecting mana is something that even rank A hunters avoid doing, because if the manas enter into conflict and get entangled, the mana core breaks and both die. However, the next second his friend seems healed, saying that the demonic energy was purified. Immediately he runs to Taehoon to hug him since they managed to survive, and then he bows to the MC, thanking him from the bottom of his heart and saying that he will never forget that heroic act. Taehoon, however, does not hide his frightened face, as he just witnessed someone purifying demonic energy simply by injecting mana, and that should be impossible without an exorbitant amount of power, which makes him even more intrigued to know who Dawoon is. After all this, the MC returns to his house, and upon seeing it feels happy since no intruder appeared. Besides having gained unexpected income, he looks down and notices that the mandrakes have woken up, and also that their leaves have started to wither. Immediately, he plants them back in the soil, thinking it will be enough, but realizes that they all look sad and dissatisfied. He does not understand what he might have done wrong, and imagines that perhaps it is because he forcibly took them from the place where the mandrakes lived, or maybe they are hungry after being transplanted without soil. He decides to use his power to provide a little mana, and at that very instant, the mandrakes are filled with happiness, also making the MC glad that it worked. Then he notices the presence of someone nearby and immediately knows that it is the robot that the hunters are chasing. Without knowing what interest the creature might have in him, he stores the money in case he needs it later and starts organizing the luggage he carried with him. The first item he found was a portable stove and kitchen utensils, which are essential for cooking outdoors. There are also 8 portal stones to travel between realms, spare clothes contaminated with pollen that need washing, 2 sleeping bags and blankets for a warm rest. The MC realizes that the hunters were well prepared and that he was the one who got really lucky. Then, he also notices that there is ramen among the items and tries to remember the last time he ate, back when he was still a child in the orphanage. And since he is hungry, he decides he will cook. The first step of the recipe is to put 500 milliliters of water. He is unsure if he should measure by weight. At that moment, the lake water starts bubbling and several piranha monsters come out to attack him. Dawoon prepares his finger since he is aware that people add some extra things when preparing ramen, and so he kills the fish, since it will be a delicious side dish. The second step is to add ingredients such as eggs and green onions to improve the flavor, and he believes that some roe should work in place of the eggs. However, he is aware that in that region there are no green onions and believes that putting something similar to leaves should work. He puts all the ingredients inside a pot and gets ready to go to the next step. At that moment, the chimera starts approaching and its stomach is growling since it sees a human cooking. The MC lights the stove and imagines that the instructions do not say when to put the fish in, so he decides to cook everything together. The smell of the food starts spreading through the place and even scares the mandrakes with such stench, as well as Dawoon, who did not remember the smell being so strong. The odor spreads through the forest until it reaches the robot, which starts drooling at the smell of the food. He starts approaching since he also wants to eat and uses one of his transformations, turning into a cute puppy, since as far as he knows, humans help when they feel pity. He approaches and Dawoon immediately realizes that it is the mechanical creature that followed him there, and wonders if the robot purposely transformed into a dog to make him lower his guard, and is even pretending to be hurt to arouse pity. He looks closely at the dog and does not understand how the creature managed to escape from the laboratory and even reach the demon realm. He warns that everything is ready and asks if he wants a little. The dog, happy, just barks and both keep looking at the pot, and even though the appearance is scary, he wonders if he should try to eat or not. Anyway, the two sit at the table to eat, and the dog, starving, starts eating non-stop. The MC does the same and realizes that the taste brings memories of when he was little and enjoyed the food of that time. Then, smiling, he concludes that the taste is the same as in the past. The strong smell overflowed throughout the region, making even the mandrakes vomit. After that, the MC tells the dog to go away since he has eaten, and he himself needs to tidy things up. Then, as he leaves, the dog starts limping again, and he laughs, pointing out that he was limping with his left foot and not with the right one. The dog goes into shock since he hadn't noticed that and goes back to limping with the correct paw. The MC goes near a waterfall and, while working, imagines that he has finished washing the dishes, so it is time to take care of the clothes. Since he does not have good memories with flower pollen, he could not live forever wearing leather clothes. He knows that if he rubs the clothes too hard, they could tear, so he needs to wash them carefully. However, with a simple strike using a stick, the stone explodes in all directions along with the clothes. With the immense force he possesses, he leaves there frustrated but relieved to still have another set left. Moreover, he notices something. Since the mechanical creature simply decided to turn into a stone, and he does not understand why it continues around the area. Dawoon remembers that even when he was eating instant noodles and washing dishes, the chimera was nearby. The same goes for when he was looking at a flower resembling a forsythia, which was when the mechanical creature approached, changing form without doing anything else. At that moment, a bee flew past the robot, which immediately ran away, shouting that he hates insects, implying that he must have a mental age of less than 5 years. The chimera was furious, trying to kill the bee until it realizes that the MC was watching it since its disguise disappeared. Dawoon notices this and begins to pretend as if he did not notice her presence, and the robot walks away, needing to hide. The MC finally manages to wash his clothes and finds it more difficult than he imagined, but somehow he finishes. He finds the clothes small, but decides to leave them hanging for now, as he will check on the mandrakes. At that moment, the chimera realizes that Dawoon left and immediately runs to the clothes on the line and puts them on, since if a human is wearing them, then she should wear them too. The robot is happy, as she now also has clothes and transforms, growing long hair and even hands, as her human form is now perfect. Meanwhile, the MC is checking on the mandrakes and does not understand why the leaves keep wilting and the roots also seem dry. He begins to find it strange, since he removed all the weeds when preparing the field, and with his wood, he removes a bunch of monsters that were under the soil, as they were making the mandrakes sad, and he realizes that if he had ground everything properly from the start, this problem would not have occurred. Dawoon gets up and decides to make a proper garden until he sees a child in front of him saying hello. The MC is startled, as this time the robot has turned into a girl, and it seems she is ready to talk, so he responds to the greeting. She asks if, by any chance, the house is his, and Dawoon proudly answers yes. The little girl's eyes start to shine, asking if he is from that region, and the MC wonders if he should tease her a little and asks which tribe she belongs to. The chimera is confused by the question and, not knowing what to say, replies that she lives behind the waterfall far from that place and that she traveled a long way, so he would not know where it is. Dawoon finds this interesting and comments that if it is in the direction of the waterfall, she probably belongs to the coconut tribe. She immediately confirms that she is from the coconut tribe, but he questions her clothes, as they are the same as his, which are from another tribe. The robot retorts that their tribal rule is that whoever takes it keeps the clothes, so the clothes belong to her. He replies that it is not a problem, and she feels relieved. Then the MC asks why someone from the coconut tribe is in that region. She replies that she was expelled from the tribe and is there to ask for a favor, and, crouching, shouts that she wants to live with him if he allows it. He asks if she is sure, and, embarrassed, she says that there are no insects in this region and that there is a house, so she believes it is safe. Dawoon sighs, as he imagined the little girl needed a place to rest, and therefore he responds that it is fine, but warns that she will need to help with the chores. Her eyes start to shine with joy, and she says that she will help with everything he asks. He starts saying he was going to help prepare the garden soil, since he will build a new house for the mandrakes. She grabs the piece of wood, intending to help, and starts destroying all the soil with her absurd strength. The MC just watches, finding it funny that the girl doesn't even hide her true identity, and believes that, having lived all the time in a laboratory, she doesn't know what it's like to be a normal child. At that moment, she is startled when the MC introduces himself and asks her name. She starts imagining that she doesn't have one and needs to invent something, like the beautiful flower she saw earlier, and without thinking twice replies that her name is Nari. He jokes, asking if she is sure about that, and, enraged, she responds that she obviously is sure of her own name. After that, the garden is ready, and he praises her for finishing quickly, and also notices that the mandrakes are much happier. At that moment, he notices something strange and asks why she is crying. Nari replies that the mandrakes remind her of her friends. He is confused hearing this, as far as he knows, something like that cannot exist in a research laboratory. At that moment, something catches her attention, as a loud noise is emitted throughout the forest, and it makes her fall face down to the ground in fear. Dawoon tells her not to worry, since it's just the sound of monsters hunting each other, and she says that before arriving at that house, she saw a monster that looked like a little chick and believes that several monsters are attacking it. The MC says that's exactly how it seems. She, still trembling, says that the little chick is probably hurt from being bitten, and he replies that it will likely be devoured soon, since that is the demon's realm, and therefore asks if she by any chance wants to save this monster. Nari, feeling a strong headache, says she cannot save the monster. The MC crouches, wondering if he should help a little in a way that doesn't seem like an order, and says that if she helps the monster it might survive, asking if she wants to go see. She thinks about it and suddenly jumps high, saying she will return soon. At the same time, several monsters are attacking the little chick, and at that moment, she arrives flying, ordering them to stop hurting an innocent creature. With tears in her eyes, she promises to save it. This makes her recall the time she was in the laboratory, asking the other monsters why a robot had finished first in a ranked match. And, with the way things are, they will end up being used as experiments if something goes wrong. This made everyone revolt to the point of starting to kick her, since they also want a chance to live, and she only asks them to stop, as she only did what she was ordered to do. Remembering this makes her even angrier, to the point of attacking, shouting not to be cruel to someone just because of numbers, and with a devastating punch, obliterates the monster instantly. Meanwhile, Dawoon is tending his garden until Nari arrives, but she is crying, asking what she should do since the creature isn't improving at all. He tells her to calm down, but is soon startled when he sees what type of monster it is, having the feeling he has seen it somewhere before. She continues screaming desperately, not understanding why the creature isn't waking up, and asks if it is dying. He asks to take a look and, extending his hand, realizes that luckily, the monster has no serious injuries. He knows that each monster's energy carries a story, and therefore recognizes it as the same monster, since the energy is identical. He becomes thoughtful about this, not understanding why the creature became small, and wonders if it is a type that recovers differently than him. Nari, still worried, asks if the creature is really dying, but he reassures her, saying that the creature is just hungry and probably became too small to get food on its own, and also asks her not to worry, since he gave a bit of mana and it will heal on its own, leaving the creature calm. This makes her remember the past once again, when her doll was destroyed, so looking at the creature, she comments that it is all soft like a rice cake, and therefore asks if she can take care of it, promising that she will take proper care of it, as well as train it to feed itself. Dawoon is pleased to see her concern, but warns that the monster will grow a lot, and that, anyway, she can do whatever she wants. Nari fills with joy, asking if it's really serious, and he replies that it is, since, after all, that monster can protect their yard. Suddenly, the monster begins to wake up and, when looking ahead, immediately recognizes the MC as the one responsible for having skinned him at another time. After fully waking up, he is confused, not knowing where he is, and starts trying to escape at all costs, since he doesn't understand why he is in the hands of a little girl in the demon world. Meanwhile, Nari is extremely happy since the creature is alive, and the MC, seeing that, is confused as he understands perfectly what the monster is saying, like asking to be let out of there. After that, Nari finishes bandaging him and announces that she has chosen a name for the creature. However, the demonic pigeon is angry, ordering the idiots to release him. She celebrates, since she chose the name Gu because he looks like a pigeon. Dawoon says he liked the name, but Gu stands up furious, questioning how a mere human dares to name him, since he already has a name. However, before finishing speaking, she throws a pot of water on him, thinking he was thirsty. She is confused about why the pigeon became fat and asks what they should do. Gu, full of water, only asks her not to give him any more water, even though she doesn't understand anything he says. The MC, understanding everything, realizes that Nari doesn't understand these things and therefore tells her to stop giving water since the creature is full. She panics, believing that the monster is hungry and will look for food. Meanwhile, Dawoon prepares some wood as he wants to build a shelf to store some things. He starts his work, believing the size is enough, but when he applies the minimum force, the log breaks and he doesn't understand what went wrong, since he did it the same way as the table and chairs. Gu, watching from afar, says that the wood is a different color and tells him to take the log in front since it is soft wood. The MC asks if it has to do with the wood's resistance, since it seems to vary according to the type. The creature replies that it's obvious and asks if he didn't know. He says no and asks which color of wood is the most resistant. The pigeon says that obviously it is red, and only then realizes if the human in front of him is managing to understand him, and the MC just says that he found it interesting to know that red is the right color. Gu does not accept what is happening and decides to check Dawoon's mind and use his mental reading, but he is completely blocked by an almost divine pressure. The MC, without even doing anything, says that he searched everywhere but couldn't find a red wood. The creature feels cornered, since his mental reading was blocked instantly, but that's not even what scares him the most. And so he asks if he can really hear him. The MC says it's more than that, since he can hear even his thoughts as if they were human words, and questions how the heck a monster understands what humans talk about. Gu is embarrassed about that, and the MC quickly deduces that this is a rare and intelligent monster, and that he himself had only heard of one, but had never met one. Then he says that they have already met, and the monster replies that yes, and that he even wanted to see him again. Dawoon asks why, and Gu replies that it is because the MC saved him, and because of that act, he promised himself that if he met him again, he would help him as he could. Dawoon imagines that the poison was eliminated along with the hide, so the monster's core remains intact. And since he heard that Gu wants to help him, he asks if he could help right then. The monster, knowing what it's about, frees himself from the bindings and says he will take him to where the high-quality red wood grows. Meanwhile, the forest is on fire, and Nari appears running, crying, since she doesn't want to return to the laboratory. The explosions continue until she is thrown to the ground, and she panics, imagining that the people there are from the laboratory and want to capture her, not knowing what to do since she hates fire. The hunter doing this is using his tracker and admits to being surprised, since a mechanical creature can really change shape with ease. And he also says he doesn't feel right attacking something that looks like a child. He prepares his ability once again while signaling for her to understand, since for him, it is a matter of life or death, and he fires his fire blast without mercy, shouting that it's the end of her. Nari just continues crying, frozen with fear of fire, and the next second the MC appears blocking the attack along with Gu, who, with furious eyes, apologizes to Dawoon, saying he will find out another time where the redwood is, since his priority is to save the child, and the MC agrees with this. He realizes she is terrified of fire, as she doesn't seem okay, even though she is strong, and therefore asks to put out the fire first. Gu agrees, and even asks how anyone could have the courage to hurt a child. The hunter asks what the hell is going on, since a man is acting like he's from the caves, and asks if he is also after the mechanical creature, and being pressed for time, he tells him to leave while still being polite. Dawoon tells him to shut up since he talks too much, which makes the guy furious, as he is ruining his whole plan, and so he attacks with all his hell flames. The MC raises a single finger and fires a powerful flash that hits the mountain dead on, causing a landslide heading toward the hunter, who is left completely confused. After things settle, the MC asks if she is okay, and Nari gets up, trying to understand what happened. Dawoon looks at the body on the ground and tells the little girl to knock out without fear when in trouble. He grabs the hunter's hair and warns that when the man wakes up, she should knock him out again, then pulls him out of the earth. However, only the hair comes out, and the MC is left baffled until he sees that the knocked out guy is actually a disguised bald man. They look down, and when focusing on the citizen's bald head, Nari bursts into laughter, finding the bald head funny, and admits she's no longer scared after seeing the billiard ball-like head. The MC stares at her and remembers stepping in front to block the attack, unsure if the girl would have been defeated, since in his mind, that would be impossible. Gu asks to leave things with him so he can understand what happened, as over the years, his mental reading will allow him to access other people's memories and also share visions with others. A scientist was laughing and with a macabre smile was watching a slime, commenting that the monster has probably gained a good amount of self-awareness since it is avoiding him. He raises his hand and tells him not to be afraid, since the endurance test was a success. With that, they return to reality, and Dawoon has his hand on the girl, imagining that the trauma will fade easily and that at least they have taken a step forward. Then he asks what should be done with the little bald man. Nari gets excited and says she has an idea. She ties a rope at the top of the waterfall and leaves the man hanging. She keeps laughing, knowing someone who uses fire will easily be extinguished when wet, and calls him Uncle Bald. The man is annoyed, as he didn't come to the demon realm to go through this. She continues mocking the hunter's lack of hair, and the MC steps in, saying people shouldn't be judged so harshly by their appearance. But he soon realizes she is really upset about it and hopes she calms down as soon as possible. He goes to the river, and Gu asks what he is doing. He responds that he is just getting water for the ramen. At that moment, Nari appears, excitedly saying that the MC's fish ramen is amazing. He finds it funny and asks if the Coco tribe even eats fish ramen. She realizes the mistake she made and responds that the tribe also likes instant noodles. Meanwhile, atop the waterfall, the hunter reflects, since in his mind, the MC is at least a rank A hunter or even higher. However, he finds something strange, as a reclusive hunter who operates in the shadows is unusual, especially for hanging someone and then eating ramen, even in the demon realm, which he considers excessive. At that moment, Nari appears after catching 2 fish in the river and immediately puts them in the pot to speed up the preparation. The hunter, indignant, looks at the absurd amount of water in the pot and wonders if the MC really knows how to make ramen. Because of this, out of nowhere, the hunter lets out a loud shout asking to wait. He then says that if released, he could prepare a delicious ramen for everyone. The MC decides to accept, and the hunter prepares to make the food. He opens the ramen package and begins to shake like a green stick, knowing his life depends on it. He starts sweating cold, imagining that he has always made ramen with love, but actually doesn't know much about cooking. He is aware that the amount of water will rely on his intuition, and the first step is to put the noodles and seasoning into the boiling water. After that comes the cooking time of 4 minutes and 30 seconds. He times it based on his heartbeat, which is 60 beats per minute, so counting 270 beats will be ideal. Little by little, he counts until finally reaching the crucial point. He knows that at this moment, it is necessary to leave the noodles in the air to make them firm and elastic, and is aware it would have been perfect with kimchi, but being in the demon realm, that is almost impossible. With nowhere else to turn, he says he did his best and has no regrets. Gisyuk's sincerity ramen is finally ready, scoring 90 points in flavor, 24 in carbohydrates, 18 in protein, 20 in calcium, and 20 in fat. They watch the pot and decide to taste it, eager to know how it tastes. After tasting, they are silent for a few seconds, and everyone feels something completely different, as the flavor seems like pure love because it is so delicious. Nari shouts that it is really delicious, and Gu questions if humans always eat that well. The MC admits he is also surprised and asks them to finish the food first. After emptying the pot, the little monster has a full belly from eating so much. Gisyuk, embarrassed, asks if they like the food, and Dawoon asks him to say what he wants. He is confused by the question, and the MC explains that the food was so delicious that he even felt bad eating it for free, so he asks to say anything, and if possible, he will do it. The little bald man starts sweating cold, not knowing if he can really ask for something. He immediately bows down, asking to be taught to become a powerful hunter. Dawoon is confused, as that was unexpected, and Gisyuk explains that the MC is the strongest hunter he has ever met, shouting that he is good at making other dishes, even has a certificate, and that his father had a small chicken shop, so he understands frying. He says this, but deep down knows that the part about being good at other dishes is a lie, although it is true he understands frying. He then comments that passing through the gates is very troublesome because of supplies. The same applies to clothing, and for that reason, he wants to be an assistant. He also offers to pay for the lessons, as he wishes to be promoted in rank learning from him. Dawoon says he is curious about one thing, and asks why he attacked Nari, and if it was because of some reward. The bald man is confused by the question, and asks if the Nari he is talking about is the mechanical creature. At this moment, the MC asks for silence, as the girl believes she belongs to the Coco tribe, and therefore they must follow the game. He is surprised as he did not know this, and replies that the matter is unfortunately private, and therefore cannot be shared. He then begins to shout, saying he does not need a reward, the same applying to Nari, as all he wants is to pass the hunter promotion exam, and therefore nothing else matters. Dawoon asks if it's serious and tells him to get up. He doesn't understand the question, and the MC says he ate a delicious meal and therefore wants to have a training fight first. Gisyuk becomes emotional and thanks from the heart. At that moment, Nari asks to be allowed to train, as she needs to overcome the fear of putting out a huge fire. The hunter jokes, saying she forgot that the only powerful one there is the MC, and he himself is not weak at all. Dawoon then points to the side and asks if he can break the stone that is right next to him. The bald guy gets upset, as he immediately recognized that it is the dark blue stone, and, in fact, it is many times harder than diamond. Dawoon asks if that means he can't, and he responds that it might be a little difficult, as it would require at least an extremely high rank. Before he can even finish his sentence, a huge explosion occurs in the direction of the stone, leaving him in shock without understanding what the hell happened. It was Neri, using one of her lighter and more confident powers, calling the bald uncle to ask to have a training fight. Now, a bit about awakened Gisok. He is a highly promising hunter. He awakened his powers around the age of 8, and considering that most awaken at the end of adolescence, it is an exceptionally rare case. There was a testing field for rank B hunters, and the boy, with his flame powers, charged forward, defeating his opponents, as he was someone talented who grew at the speed of light and before even turning 20, was promoted to a rank B hunter. It was a meteoric rise, and fame followed him as he dreamed of becoming the greatest hunter. Those were days when nothing seemed lacking, except for a defect in his hair. He saw some strands in his hand, which drove him to despair as it came too early. Then, at the age when most people begin to awaken, he started going bald. It began at his crown, which thinned at 20-something years old, and soon after the hairline was receding into an M shape. He tried all treatments and visited every imaginable clinic, even offering as much money as necessary for another transplant. But the doctors always warned that it would fall out again, so it was better to give up as soon as possible. Giseok always cried, as it was all useless, because his impressive appearance and natural talent overshadowed it all, and eventually, he lost his shine. In one of the tests, he was defeated and thus disqualified. As a result, his growth as a hunter also stagnated. He was alone, defeated in his house, and while watching TV, an incident was announced. They reported that liquid metal is an extremely rare substance, even in the demon world, and someone accidentally poured it on his head, and his hair simply grew back, even though he was 90 years old. This news caught Giseok's attention, and only then did he realize how mysterious the demon world is. On TV, it was reported about the rest of the liquid metal that developed mechanical beings, but he was outraged hearing this, as all he wanted was just a cure for baldness, which would truly help humanity. A few days later, he received notification that the Institute's masterpiece, the mechanical creature, had fallen into the demon world. He immediately ran, since there are no laws in the demon world and therefore whoever finds it can keep it, which filled him with confidence, as he was determined to find it and pour the liquid on his head. However, all this was useless, as he was defeated again and again by the little girl, who couldn't stop laughing because it was too funny to win. The MC admits to being worried, as he didn't land a single clean hit. Because of this, he warns that if things continue this way, there won't be much he can do to help, and the bald guy, worried, said he will do his best to succeed. Next, the MC's wardrobe is finished, and he finds it very sturdy, and when he looks to the side, he imagines that Giseok is very brave since he is getting beaten every day and still hasn't given up. This makes the MC wonder why the boy has so much energy and believes it is because he took off the wig. Gu says that the flame ability isn't bad, even though it's sad not to defeat a little child. The MC responds that Nari isn't exactly an ordinary child. He launches another full-strength attack and hits the ground squarely, but she dodges without him noticing, and only then does he realize she shifted into a liquid state. Then she returns to her human form and lands a solid kick to his face, throwing him with full force against the mountain. After that, she laughs again, saying she is no longer afraid of fire thanks to him. Giseo can only wonder if this is the limit of a rank B, since he has no techniques to use, but he gets up because he doesn't want to back down, being a failed guy who can't allow himself to be defeated. And so, the big kid who doesn't know how to quit tries once more, asking her to go all out. He barely says this, and notices bleeding from his nose. The MC approaches and asks how many days he has been in the demon world. Giseok replies that it's been 9 days, and he orders him to return to the human world, since staying longer in the demonic realm at that level would kill him from demonic energy. The bald guy agrees, saying it unfortunately makes sense. At this moment, Dawoon says he has the potential to be a rank A if he fully dedicates himself, And although he is happy to hear this, Giseok becomes depressed again, recounting that he failed the rank A test for 6 consecutive years, and as far as he knows, anyone who fails the same test for more than 3 years has no hope. The MC disagrees, having seen the potential for growth since the mana hole isn't fully developed yet, and so he asks him not to give up. He begins to cry happily hearing this, and Dawoon only asks that when he returns, he ensures the demonic energy is properly cleaned. After that, the portal opens, and Giseok asks if he needs anything else besides ramen. The MC responds that for now, it's fine. The bald guy teases Nari, telling her to train well because next time he will win, and he also asks if anyone has seen his wig. Dawoon responds that he doesn't know exactly where it is, and he asks not to worry, even though he has no idea where it could be. After the portal closes, Gu asks if everything will be okay. The MC doesn't understand the question, and he explains that if Giseok betrays them, things could become dangerous, like other hunters appearing after them. Dawoon asks what he thinks about this, since he can read people's memories. He replies that the boy definitely takes training seriously to become strong, and the story about the baldness being true made him like the boy. The MC says he agrees, and that he is someone worth investing in. Nari notices the MC talking to Gu and asks if he really understands what a monster says. He responds that regarding Gu, he can understand him. He also reveals that he built a wardrobe following the pigeon's advice. However, he notices that the room is dark and decides to make a window. But when he looks to the side, he sees a laser shot, and then the new window is made by Nari herself. Dawoon begins to think that the little girl likes light and that they will need a source of light so it isn't dark at night, but she asks where they will get it. He says there are things called glowing stones that shine in the dark, and if they stick some to the ceiling, they will shine properly. Gu is surprised to hear this and asks if he knows where these stones are. He replies that he does, knowing they can be found in volcanic zones. Gu closes his eyes, saying volcanic zones are among the most dangerous areas for hunters, and when he opens them, he reveals that he used to live there. The MC wonders if the creature would like to return to its hometown, even though his expression isn't good. At this moment, Nari grabs his cheeks, wanting to know what they are talking about, and says that Gu seems strange, as if he is upset. The MC explains that he is worried about them going to the volcanic zone, and, for that reason, said he would go alone while the two stay at the house. She warns that she will go along, making it clear that she has lost her fear of fire, and, for that reason, also wants to get closer to the volcanoes. He is surprised, since she overcame her fear of fire quickly. Then he asks Gu what he will do, and he responds that he will also go since he has some things to do in the area. With everything decided, the MC says that he will first make some equipment for the volcanic zone. Meanwhile, the mandrakes are playing with Giseok's wig. In another location, in the volcanic zone, the flames are scalding and a colossal monster appears with tears streaming from his eyes. Gu talks about the volcanic region, which is one of the 3 areas most avoided in the demon world by hunters. The volcanic ash tears at people's skin, and the toxic gases and demonic energy make breathing deadly. He concludes that it is such a dangerous place that almost nothing about it is known to humans, and upon seeing Nari playing with the lava, he questions what the hell she is doing. The MC comments that she is probably playing with fire. Gu agrees, saying that the girl is originally a mechanical creature, and therefore, it is normal that she is not harmed by fire. But his real doubt is about the MC, since he does not know how he is unharmed, and so he questions what he really is. Dawoon responds that he is a chimera hunter. The pigeon says he imagined that and asks if, by any chance, chimera hunters do not look like monsters. He replies that he used to be one, but after regenerating, he appeared in human form again and decides to ask Gu if it is okay to be near the two, since he is a monster near 2 hunters. He responds that it is not bad, and even finds it fun to have someone to talk to, besides the 2 not seeming like bad people. The MC feels pleased hearing this. Nari finally comes out of the lava and immediately asks the MC if he is talking to the pigeon again, since she herself would like to do that. Dawoon asks if, by any chance, she is not curious about who he really is, and she smiles, saying that he is a native of the demon world, just like she is. The monster finds this funny, since only he is native to that place. They continue walking, and Gu comments that the luminous stones are probably nearby, where the lava erupts. At that moment, Nari looks up at the volcano and is happy, as she is getting close to the objective. They go to the highest point, and the MC comments that, indeed, the luminous stones are there, but he notices something strange, wondering if the monsters inside the volcano are fire frogs. To make it worse, he asks if one of them is crying. At that moment, Nari points further ahead and says that probably the female died while moving as she was carrying the eggs on her back. Gu explains that female fire frogs carry their eggs on their backs, and only females during reproduction have sunken backs, and concludes that since the female died, all the eggs will die as well. Besides the crater's temperature being too high for the eggs to survive, the little girl starts crying, realizing that the fire frog is sad because its friend died. The MC watches and jumps into the volcano, asking the two to wait. After entering the volcano, the enormous frog looks back, and Gu shouts for him not to get close, as the fire frog is extremely sensitive. However, it is useless, as the monster gathers its power and fires an insane blast of fire toward the MC, who with only one finger raised, approaches and touches the frog's head, leaving it confused about what happened. In the next second, the monster falls to the side, and Dawoon explains that he injected a paralyzing toxin, using only a little so it would wake up soon. Nari, worried, keeps shouting, wanting to know if he is okay, and the MC responds that he is, also explaining that he has fire frog cells inside him. He considers that nothing can be done about the already dead female, but believes the story is different about the eggs, and because of that, he uses his line ability to catch them. At this moment, the monster wakes up and only then realizes that the eggs were tied to its back. The MC explains that he tied them well and that the eggs will probably grow healthy. Then something catches his attention since the fire frog went to the dead female, probably saying a final goodbye. Then he stomps firmly on the ground and makes a huge leap, even leaving Nari surprised. The monster falls beside her, and they stare at each other for a second. But shortly after, the fire frog continues hopping in another direction. She shouts to the MC that the monster looked at her as if thanking her, and he just smiles, saying that it was probably exactly that. Then he asks them to go down since they need to explore quickly to collect the luminous stones. She gets excited, saying she will do it quickly so they can return home afterwards. Immediately, she goes toward one, and, with a smile on her face, holds the huge glowing stone. Dawoon warns her to be careful since, if it falls on her foot, it could hurt her. After collecting a certain amount, the MC asks if Gu is okay since he seems tired. He responds that he used to play lightly with the stones, but did not know it would be difficult at that size. The MC says there is no need to help since he has things to do in that area, and also asks if he is not going to give the presents to his friends since he saw him carrying some. The little pigeon feels embarrassed, saying that monsters don't have friends and that the presents are just something to leave behind. The MC finds it cute to see such a shy little monster and asks if he misses his own kind since intelligent monsters are probably different. Gu, still embarrassed, replies that he does not miss anyone and only regrets not being able to say goodbye when he left. The MC asks if he abandoned the group, and he responds that there are good things about gaining intelligence, like when he was eyeing a crimson scorpion, but one of his partners simply snapped him up. He tried to question why he was suddenly eaten, but knows it's not worth speaking to someone who doesn't respond. He says that in the land of one-eyed monkeys, he would have felt less empty if he hadn't known the human language, and that's why he left the group to live alone. Gu continues trying to help remove the luminous stones, while saying that his kind probably doesn't even know he disappeared. Suddenly, a stone falls and he sees something inside the hole. At the same moment, Nari says she heard a noise and shows a monster egg, although she does not know what species it is. They notice the egg is cracking, and the MC comments that the baby inside must be able to break the shell on its own since that way it grows strong and healthy. Nari suggests taking the egg with them since, if left inside the volcano, it would become a roasted egg, but Gu does not like that since the egg could hatch at any moment. Dawoon is thoughtful since he knows of a perfect place to use as a nest nearby, and therefore says they have no choice but to take it. Gu asks if he is sure since Nari could be in danger, and the MC assures that everything will be fine since he will make sure of it. Only then does the monster agree, since he knows his strength. After returning home, everyone is happy to have arrived quickly, and they come face to face with Gisyuk preparing food, and the MC is surprised to see him so fast in the demon realm. The hunter does not waste time and asks to carry the luggage. Dawoon finds it strange but still hands over the backpack, also warning that it is heavy. Gisyok takes it but can barely hold it since he found it extremely heavy. The MC looks closely at his face and tells him to look up, since he wants to know why he looks strange, and asks if he was beaten somewhere, since he didn't realize he was the type to get beaten. Gisyok feels awkward since Nari hits him all the time in that demon realm. Then he runs off, saying that the MC must be hungry and will prepare the food. After that, Dawoon takes one of the luminous stones and starts shaping it. Nari approaches and asks what he is doing. He responds that he will create a lamp and is cutting and shaping some parts of the glowing stone, as he intends to put it on the ceiling. She is surprised hearing this and, with sparkling eyes, says that Dawoon seems very intelligent as he knows a lot of things, besides being good at explaining. In addition, she says that he also seems very kind, as he helped the fire frog, and compares him to her father. MC takes the opportunity to joke and asks if her father is doing well in the coconut tribe. She feels embarrassed and answers that he is fine. Yes. After that, the sun sets and Gu relaxes, even though he doesn't find it as good as the volcanic area, but he feels his body melting the same way. Only then does he look back and see a giant shadow. It was the mandrakes who, working as a team, leap over each other and use their technique triple cozy formation supreme move. However, it has no effect on the monster's enormous belly, and he stands up startled, asking what the hell is wrong with those plants. Nari gets irritated, wanting to know why they are fighting, and MC comments that the mandrakes are probably angry because Gu invaded their territory. At that moment, Gisyok appears, announcing that the food will have a sweet and sour and addictive taste, and that it is popular among children. He shows the yubuchabop, which is a little fried tofu pocket. He imagines it is easy to make, yet still presentable, and asks everyone to eat freely. However, MC asks first to answer what happened to his face. He feels a bit embarrassed, not knowing what to say, and explains that he went to the Hunters Association to register for the promotion exam and encountered some rank A guys. Dawoon asks if he was provoked for being rejected and got into a fight to the point of being beaten. He answers yes, and that people even asked not to waste time reevaluating, since he apparently lost his pride along with his hair. MC takes a deep breath and asks if he recently shaved his head, as he isn't completely bald. However, saying this makes his mind race, since whenever someone talks about his baldness, he gets depressed. Because of this, Dawoon asks when the next promotion exam will be. He answers that it will be in 60 days. MC warns that they will need to do special training to have time, and he becomes excited, wanting to know if something like that really exists, and that he will work hard to become stronger. MC starts by saying that from that moment on, he will take over the task of washing the dishes in place of Nari, and is also in charge of the luminous stones, since they are covered in volcanic ash. So he must wash them too. He is concerned about all of this, and asks if it is really special training, but MC tells him to do whatever he wants, since if he wants to continue living as a rank B, there is no problem. Then he calls the kids to join, and everyone heads to the river. Gisyok feels down and begins collecting the dishes, imagining that MC must have a plan in mind, and while doing this, imagines that everyone thinks he is a natural genius. But he knows he is just a man who reached rank B through pure effort, and there is nothing genius about him. He knows that a man who has nothing, without diligence and perseverance, when he trusts someone, trusts completely. He knows this as a man who tried 7 times and failed all 7, but is someone who knows everything. Meanwhile, at the river, MC is fishing with Nari, and she begins to complain that she isn't catching anything. On the other side of the river, Gisyok is trying to wash the dishes, but constantly complains that the fish are attacking, and aquatic monsters are his weakness. MC laments this, and asks what the point of having mana is if it isn't used, since he just needs to put the shield around his body. He answers that he continued practicing during training, but couldn't do well. MC decides to test something, and picking up a luminescent stone, he hands it to the little bald guy, saying it is just to try to lift it. He thinks it is a simple task, but when trying to hold it, he feels a strange sensation and immediately drops it on the ground. He asks if the stone might have demonic energy, since he cannot put strength into his arm. Dawoon replies that the shining stones contain condensed demonic energy, and that demonic energy is a primordial and unrefined energy, which is why it is necessary to expel refined mana to use it correctly. Then, he points to Gisyuk, saying that there is mana accumulated throughout his body and that he is just a bit clumsy in handling it. Then, with a simple touch, he feels all the mana in his body and asks what he is seeing. The MC explains that the path must have formed and asks to let the mana flow. Gisyuk watches the power overflowing in his arm and decides to try to grab the stone. He uses all the strength he has until he finally manages to lift it above his head. This achievement makes him extremely happy, to the point of saying that probably washing the dishes and cleaning the stones were all meticulously calculated by the MC as part of the mana training. The MC confirms this and asks please to take care of the dishes while focusing on the circulation of mana. He, with a smile on his face, replies that he will do it immediately, since he is a man who can polish anything. After that, at nightfall, a luminous stone is installed in the house, and the inside becomes a bit brighter with everyone sleeping. Gisyuk cannot stop dreaming of becoming a rank A, unlike Dawoon, who is sleeping peacefully. Meanwhile, Gu is not able to sleep well, having taken a nap in the afternoon, until he hears something and sees Nari walking in the middle of the night through the house, and wonders what the hell she is trying to do so late at night. Nari goes to the lake and comments that her clothes got dirty, and, for that reason, she tries to wash them at all costs. Nearby are the MC and Gu. He questions why the little girl is washing clothes so late at night. The bird replies that she is a girl and has no other clothes to change into. Dawoon imagines that he doesn't care about what he wears, but believes it must be different for girls. At that moment, Nari stands up with a smile on her face, saying it's perfect since her clothes are clean. Suddenly, the MC takes the opportunity to approach, pretending he didn't see anything, and she, startled, questions what her master is doing there. He says he was walking with Gu and asks if she really thought about it. She replies yes, since she is also walking. The MC then asks her to stand still for a moment and ties a vine to her clothes. With that, he asks if she liked it since he found it quite cute. She looks with sparkling eyes because she found it very pretty and even quite similar to his. He comments that it is the forsythia flower, her favorite as far as he knows. At that moment, she screams and when turning around, asks what the hell that sound from the bushes was. Dawoon just smiles and asks her to stay calm since it's only a steel grasshopper, a Class B monster. With everything resolved, they leave, and the MC takes the opportunity to ask if she needs anything like clothes or shoes. Nari says she has already received many things and that she actually has enough. After that, the next day, near the slums of District 13, Dawoon goes to the city since, although Nari said she was fine, he doesn't think it's right for her to wear a set of clothes that barely fits her. He knows it would have been better to have taken her along so she could choose her clothes herself, but the human world could be too heavy for her trauma. He also finds it amusing since he used a stone portal just to get a child's outfit and tries to remember if there is such a store in that place. Suddenly, someone pulls his arm, asking if, by any chance, he is looking for a clothing store. The boy says that for only 10,000 won, he can guide him to a clothing store. Still with his salesman act, he asks if by chance he is from the area since he knows many stores with excellent prices. The MC says he will pay as soon as he has a chance, since he is aware he doesn't have small bills at the moment. The boy sighs, imagining it's pathetic for a hunter not to have even 10,000 won. He starts walking, asking if he at least has money to buy clothes, and if so, to follow him. The MC thanks him, and they keep walking. Dawoon also notices that the place has patrol cars, and therefore the slum dwellers probably feel safer. Suddenly, Bangsu asks if by any chance the MC awakened a long time ago, and he is surprised since he didn't imagine it was that obvious. The boy says he noticed he came out of a portal without any equipment and probably spent a fortune only to have been robbed by thieves. Dawoon praises him since he knows quite a lot despite his young age, and that annoys the boy since he's not a child and is only short because he eats little. At that moment, they see a group of people, and Bangsu takes the opportunity to warn that in District 13, he should avoid gangs since they are dangerous. He explains that the gang used to stay in District 11, but expanded to that area, and since the police practically gave up, they never go that way. The MC keeps watching and wonders if the orphanage in District 13 still exists. Meanwhile, in a clothing store, a girl is bored since she thinks it's crazy to try to run a clothing store in the slums. She knows that young couples don't have children because they can't afford the costs and wonders if she should switch to a different type of store. At that moment, the door opens and Bangsu greets her, calling the woman middle-aged. Nuna gets irritated since he keeps bothering her, even though she's young, The MC can only imagine that it is his first time in a clothing store. The boy says that Dawoon needs clothes, and the store owner calls the boy for a moment and, furious, asks how he dares to keep bringing broke hunters to the store since she needs to make real sales. Bong-soo tries to argue that he has no idea whether a hunter has money or not. She yells, telling him to take a good look and see if he really looks like someone with money since he doesn't even have shoes. The two keep arguing as they rarely get along until the MC turns, gets their attention, and showing the check he has, says that he would like to buy some clothes and therefore wants to know how much he can buy with the money he has. They both can't believe they're seeing a check for 10 million. Immediately, Nuna changes her attitude and shows the whole place together with Bong-soo, who also helps with the presentation by serving breakfast. The MC sits down, and the saleswoman says she has clothes from adults to children and asks if he's buying for himself. He replies that he wants clothes for a preschool girl and, since he's already there, also wants something for himself. She, with the biggest smile ever seen, explains that he's in the right place since they specialize in both children's and adult clothes and starts showing a piece. Then, she shows another one, as they're great for kids, as well as the third piece of clothing. After that, with the store's receipt printed, the saleswoman ends up crying with happiness, wishing every day could be like that one, and even can't believe she didn't sell more because everything was sold out. Then, she says she gave more than 100 items and asks if by any chance he would like her to deliver them. He replies no since he will carry them himself and gives 100,000 won to Bong-soo, along with some clothes, as he is thankful for the help and also wants to ask for another favor. The two walk back through the slums, and the boy explains that they arrived at the inn he had mentioned, and since there is a police station nearby, it's quite safe. Dawoon enters the inn, but asks to wait a moment since he'll be back. Bong-soo doesn't understand anything, since even knowing that the MC has a lot of money, he can't understand how he can give 100,000 won as a fee to a child, buy clothes, and even heard stories of people kidnapping kids using money, wondering if he should run away. On the other hand, he also imagines that good people exist, just like his boss is that kind of person. The MC leaves the inn saying that indeed the owner is a good person and the place is clean, then gives the key of the inn he rented and puts it in the boy's hand. He explains that he paid 1 year of rent in advance, so it's for the boy to live there, and also paid for the meals, so he should eat properly. Bong-soo, without much to think about, asks if by entering the inn, he will be kidnapped. Dawoon, already with the portal open to leave, asks what he's talking about, since it was actually the boy who introduced the inn. Then, with tears in his eyes, Bong-soo asks what the final goal is, since they just met and he doesn't understand why he was so good to him the whole time. The MC, with a smile on his face, replies that he remembered how things used to be and even used to live like him, and says goodbye, promising that they'll meet again another time. After returning to the demonic realm, Nari wastes no time and asks where he went since he left without saying anything. He explains that he went to buy her a present and shows the bag full of clothes. She celebrates, thinking the clothes are amazing, and the MC asks her to try on what she likes, and she says she'll do it immediately. At the same time, the monster egg inside the cabin starts making noise. Meanwhile, the MC is folding all the clothes until Nari appears calling him and, embarrassed, says she found the outfit very pretty. Besides that, she explains that she wants to try on a few more, and, all clumsy, doesn't quite understand how to put on jeans. The same goes for a long outfit that even makes her look like a ghost. Dawoon finds it funny to see her excited, and Gu agrees. Then, after a while, she approaches and points out that she liked the outfit with a chicken in the middle since it looks like Gu. The monster asks if she's sure it looks like him. The MC just says it was a good choice. The demonic pigeon comments that there is little space in the house and therefore doesn't know what to do with so many clothes. Dawoon explains that he thought about that and is expanding his house to make a closet. Gu gets worried about it and asks if that means they will have to cut more trees. He tells him not to worry since there is someone responsible for that, and shouts to Gisyuk, asking if by any chance he would like to do special training. Immediately, the boy starts running and, with his forehead shining, announces that he is always ready for this kind of training. Moreover, he says he was very careful with the training one, but the MC has no idea what he is talking about or what kind of training equipment that is. Gisyuk says that, as far as he knows, The uniform is for training since it's soaked with potent poison, and with his eyes shining, he says he believes it's a uniform that will make him stronger as the days go by. However, the MC just says it's soaked with poison only because he was too lazy to wash it properly and still tells him to wear it. The bald one panics since he almost died just trying to wash the clothes, and wearing them would be his end. Do-woon says he's tired of training and therefore wants him to go cut some wood. But the boy, still sweating cold, says he will definitely die if he wears such a poisonous outfit and also doesn't understand this sudden wood-cutting task. Suddenly, Nari appears at the window shouting that something's wrong with the egg. They go to the cabin, and the MC explains that it's about to hatch since the movements are getting more violent. Giseok, worried, asks if a simple monster or something catastrophic will be born. He tells him not to worry, since it will definitely be a very cute monster. The evil one says that, and a piece of the egg breaks, and they scream that it's finally going to hatch. The monster's claws appear, as well as its tail and tongue, revealing a beautiful snake. Giseok gets confused since he doesn't know what kind of species that is. Then the monster jumps and lands on the bald one's head, who immediately screams desperately. After that, he goes to do his wood-gathering task, while Go orders him to get the job done quickly. Giseok gets irritated since he doesn't understand why a monster is giving orders, and besides that, the evil one is still managing to breathe because of the poison in the clothes. Meanwhile, the MC finishes folding the clothes and, after looking to the side, sees Nari happily feeding the new creature. She then asks what name she should call it. The MC suggests naming it Sasa, but at that moment, the snake runs away at high speed, and Nari runs after it like crazy. Do-woon takes the opportunity to comment that he has never seen that species before, and Gu says the same. However, he claims the only certainty is that the monster is from the volcanic zone, and therefore they will need to keep an eye on the mandrakes. The MC doesn't understand why, and he explains that most monsters from the volcanic zone consider plant-type monsters a delicacy. Their main dish is plants with strong demonic energy, and that's why it will definitely try to dig up and eat the mandrakes. As soon as he says that, the monster is already in front of them, with its scary eyes, just like the mandrakes. Everyone watches closely, and Giseok asks what's happening. Nari warns that she will stop them, but Do-woon says that they are in the demonic realm, and therefore need to settle the hierarchy at least once. And since both are young, it won't be dangerous. The snake stares at the mandrake, and the mandrake stares back. One monster lunges forward with its claw, but the mandrake blocks it with a twig. Then the second mandrake attacks, but the snake manages to block it with its tail. However, the third mandrake takes the chance, charges all of its power into its hand, and lands a direct punch on the snake's cheek, which, although extremely weak, is enough to make the monster start crying. Giseok confesses he can't believe what he's seeing, and Nari says the snake is just shocked for being hit for the first time in its life. Then, she goes back to running after it. Giseok comments that the victory belongs to the mandrakes, and that it was strangely epic. Gu agrees with that, and everyone goes back to doing their work. Meanwhile, in a river, a bird monster flies at full speed. Meanwhile, the construction continues at full steam, and Gu keeps ordering them to go faster and faster. Nari keeps having fun helping along with the baby snake, while the MC organizes all the clothes he folded. The night passes, and the day arrives, and without thinking twice, Giseok throws his shirt on the floor and shouts angrily that he can't take it anymore. Besides that, he cries since he spent 2 whole days without sleeping, and it was complete hell. And seeing what he ended up building, he questions if he's really right. At that moment, Do-woon approaches and says that he's feeling better. He gets confused since he doesn't understand what that means. The little girl also approaches and says that he smells like flowers. Still confused, Giseok tries to understand what they're talking about and closes his eyes until he realizes that it actually smells like lavender. Nari, a bit confused, asks how the closet smells like flowers. The MC explains that the demonic pigeon selected aromatic woods, and because of that, the clothes will always smell nice. The mandrakes are also enjoying that scent, as well as Sasa. Giseok, intrigued, asks if by any chance the little snake's name will really be Sasa. The MC answers that they can change it if they have a better idea, so he, excited, asks if it can be Little Snake. But that idea only serves to make Do-woon feel down, since it's a completely meaningless name. Nari also suggests another name, but it's just as meaningless. Lastly, Gu approaches, and the MC asks if he has his own name since it could serve as a reference. and he answers that his true name is Rocky Mountain Shell, as it expresses his true identity. But that also doesn't please Dawoon, who decides to keep the name Sasa. With that decided, Gu asks what the next plan will be, since the house extension is finished. The MC looks at everyone and says that he thought of something while visiting the human world, and, smiling, suggests building a sturdy fence around the house, since that way, even if he's away, no one can enter without permission. Giseok asks if it's a joke since he's sure no one would want to enter that house, but the MC disagrees since you never know, as an S-class monster could appear or hunters could be searching for something. Gu agrees and suggests using a material both dense in demonic energy and durable, like the items found in the coastal area. Dawoon recalls that he once heard that yellowish quartz is stronger than black stone, and imagines that if they build the fence with that, it will look amazing. Because of that, he announces that they'll go to the coastal area. Nari gets excited about it, unlike Giseok, who can't believe what he heard since apparently Dawoon has no idea what kind of place it is, and dramatically says that he apparently needs to release some demonic energy again since he's feeling unwell. The MC understands and tells him to just take care of the mandrakes. The bald man says he understands, but asks them to be careful with the coastal area since it's a dangerous place even for rank A hunters. Moreover, he reveals that the most important thing is that there are 2 disaster-level monsters ruling the area. He explains that, from what he's heard, they are chimera hunters who escaped from the laboratory and have bird heads and human bodies. In fact, this monster is flying over the area, and some hunters arrive since they were tracking it. One of them prepares his attack and fires, hitting the Birdman directly, but it's useless since it didn't even scratch him. The hunter asks if they should follow it, but the captain replies that they shouldn't since there are 2 monsters, and even after 60 years, they haven't died, so they must see it as some kind of failure. And since humanity's greatest achievement was the chimera hunters, they can't let a failure tarnish such an achievement. One of the hunters, looking at the sky with his binoculars, calls the leader's attention and comments that the chimera isn't fleeing, since in reality, it's flying at full speed toward them. Immediately, he shouts to raise a defensive barrier, and a shield is created around them, but it was completely useless, since it broke with just a blast of air. The monster returns to the sky and advances once again with its sharp claws. The leader yells that they misjudged and orders them to stop targeting weak people. He says that while Nari counterattacks the monster, which is surprised, wondering if the child is also a chimera. After both retreat, she asks why the Birdman is bullying. The MC explains that, in fact, it's the opposite, and looking back, he sees the hunter saying that the mechanical creature is also nearby. Dawoon puts his hand on her head since he had forgotten that she has a tracking device in it and is already finding it annoying, and when looking forward, he can't believe he's meeting that person again and asks if, by any chance, he doesn't remember him since they were roommates. The Birdman is startled upon hearing that, and he comments again that he never thought they would be alive. The MC looks back and sees the team leader ordering everyone to regroup and retreat since they need to counterattack. The Birdman, however, can't think of anything else because the scent is familiar, and he could never forget it since only they know what they went through. Besides the scent of the chimeric cellular combination drug from the laboratory being on him, and that's why he calls the MC number 17, also saying it's been a while since they met. 66 years ago, in the forest near the laboratory, the Birdman was running at full speed while a girl on his back complained that it was cold. Moreover, his body started to be cut, and all he could think was that even if he died at the hands of the laboratory, maybe it would have been better to leave Gia behind. He laments since she couldn't fully transform into a bird. Suddenly, she said that his wings were warm, and that moved him so much that he looked forward, asking her to hold on a bit longer until something caught his attention since the MC was in front of them, and he had no idea why. Dawoon says that he saw in the laboratory that the side effects are severe, and since they plan to eliminate him, he's only there to warn him. Number 33 finds that funny and says it's very kind coming from a psychopath. The MC reinforces that even if he escapes, the detonation spell will kill him in 3 days. The Birdman tells him not to interfere, pointing out that the MC doesn't know what it's like to live full of side effects since his whole life has been like that, and all they ever asked for was a peaceful life. He places his sister sitting on the tree, and after summoning his wings, he prepares for combat since he wants to live freely for a single day. Dawoon just watches that, and then a portal appears behind him. The Birdman can't believe it, and imagines that if they pass into the demonic territory, Their human cells will be poisoned by demonic energy, or their monster cells will absorb the energy and activate. Either way, the MC tells him to follow that path since he apparently means it about wanting to live freely. Number 33, a bit hesitant, asks if there's a way to survive in the demonic realm as a human. After all, theoretically, he would have to train enough to protect his body and mind from demonic energy. However, the laboratory's security starts approaching, and because of that, he walks past the MC, confessing that they've been roommates for 4 years and don't even know each other's names. And after saying that his own name is Yubiom, the MC smiles at him. But soon we return to reality with Dawoon asking the hunters what his name is. The leader replies that he has no idea, and the MC likes that answer and tells them to go through the portal and forget everything that happened. Yubiom smells something and asks if his memories were erased by the power of oblivion. The MC replies that he has cells from a Bolivian herb transplanted into his body. Still curious, he asks if, by any chance, there aren't any side effects, since a bunch of things were transplanted into him. Then Dawoon asks if, by any chance, his name is Yubeom, and his number is 33 in the laboratory. He's surprised since he didn't think he would remember that. At this moment, Nari approaches and asks if they really are friends. Dawoon replies that his friend belongs to the bird tribe, and then asks if, by any chance, the bird tribe and the Coco tribe are allies. She feels awkward and answers that of course they are. Yubiom, however, doesn't understand what the hell he meant by the Coco tribe being allies, but the girl just bows and apologizes since she thought he was a bad person. Then her stomach starts to growl, and the MC asks where his friend's house is and if there's food. He doesn't understand what the hell is going on, or if Dawoon has a daughter and why the hell he would be raising a child. After all that, they go to Yubiom's house, and Nari asks if that's his nest since it's well built. He arrives with food and says they're grilled shellfish. Gu is the first to want to try it and is amazed by the refreshing taste. The same goes for Nari and Sasa, since it had been a while since they'd eaten something so good. The MC admits that it's really good and says it's even better with red moss. Yubiom says he's happy they liked it, but then he feels a strange sensation and starts trembling. The MC notices this, but before saying anything, Nari calls him, wanting more food. Number 33 says the ingredients are gone, so he doesn't know what to do. She suggests getting more shellfish and runs off, saying she'll grab at least 10. Meanwhile, the two chimeras enjoy the breeze, and the Birdman asks if he's thinking of getting revenge on the lab someday. The MC admits he's thought about it a few times, but confesses that the life he's living isn't bad, so he's not in a hurry to think about it. Then he asks if his friend is after revenge, and he replies that they still have detonation spells in their bodies and would even explode the moment they crossed to the human world. Dawoon notices that he can control his wings, but asks why his head hasn't gone back to normal. Yubiom answers that he can actually change into human form but doesn't want to, explaining that Jia's face changed, and if he were the only one who looked normal, she'd feel bad. Suddenly, the MC changes his expression and asks if he already knows he only has 1 month left to live. Yubiom is surprised he noticed that and says he brings memories from when he arrived very demonic, since all he wanted to do was survive, and that gave him a lot of time with Jia. However, some time ago, for some reason, she got tangled up, and the demonic energy started running wild. He explains that he tried to force it open and only damaged the mana hole even more in the process. And, trembling, he says that Jia only ate fruits with sleep poison and just fell asleep after that. The MC reflects that it was quite a decision to force herself into a sleep state to slow down the demonic energy process. He also thinks that when someone has a damaged mana hole, it's necessary to prepare a mandrake potion to heal, and he feels sorry his friend doesn't know that. Meanwhile, somewhere else, Jia continues eating the poisonous fruits, trembling, and screams in rage since that nightmare wave never ends. After the MC tells everything, Yubiom can't believe what he heard and asks if he and Jia can really survive. Dawoon explains that he studied pharmacology in the lab and that all they need to do is drink refined water from a mana hole infused with mandrake roots. Basically, mandrakes are a type of plant that screams when pulled from the ground, and even though the roots may seem insignificant at first glance, they actually absorb demonic energy from the underground, causing new entities to sprout and multiply even more. The MC says he'll get some, and points out that to make refined water, he'll need an alchemist. And since the Birdman can't go to the human world, he'll go himself, but just asks him to take care of the children. He also adds that the alchemist will ask for payment, and Yubium laments since he has no money at all. After that, the Birdman shows the suitcase he collected, and the MC is surprised that there's so much stuff stolen from the hunters who used to show up to cause trouble. Then, he grabs the portal stone in his hand, saying he's heading out. After arriving on Earth, he meets Bong-su, who asks if he is really looking for an awakened alchemist, and explains that in the past, an alchemist association branch opened in that slum, and that he will probably find something there. At this moment, the MC notices something and asks why he is wearing sandbags on his arms and legs. He replies that he is building stamina since he wants to become strong like him. Dawoon is confused by this, and he states that for someone to enter the demonic world with nothing but the clothes on their back must mean he is an incredibly powerful hunter. After walking for a while, they arrive at the place, and Bong-su looks to the side and points out that he found the person. He also explains that apparently the guy is in connection with the loan shark. Dawoon asks who the hell loan shark is, and he explains that it is someone who gives loans, which is not rare in the slums. Then he explains that this man originally worked for the Golden City brand for 20 years and was demoted for doing something wrong. In the Golden City, one of the heads was secretly diverting the slum's subsidies, and apparently it was the director, who is known for stealing his subordinates' results. Because of this, the guy was demoted. Kim is downcast until he meets Bong-su and asks what he is doing there. He replies that he has a friend who is looking for an alchemist. The MC keeps observing since he had no idea someone like Kim would be found in those neighborhoods. Bong-su then says goodbye since he needs to go, and after that, the brand manager goes to the shop and asks the employee to get something for them to eat. But the MC interrupts since he has no time and wants to go straight to the point, stating that apparently Kim is a rank A alchemist and therefore he wants to know if he can make refined water for mana holes using mandrake. Kim finds it absurd for someone to talk about mandrakes in the middle of the slum, and also doesn't understand how a boy knows his rank and therefore says he can make it despite not having the materials. He barely says that when he becomes completely terrified, as Dawoon is holding the mandrake roots with an absurd demonic energy. He takes it in his hand and confesses that he has never seen one in such good condition since it apparently had just been collected. The MC says he will pay for the crafting with specialties from the coastal region and politely asks him to evaluate what he has in his backpack. He shows the items he possesses, and Kim can't believe it, since not even the headquarters has ever seen a rank S black pearl. Moreover, there are giant clams from the demonic realm that apparently are alive, as well as red moss, which is the main ingredient for high-level potions, something ultra-rare to find. Dawoon says he believes it is enough to cover the crafting. Kim assures that it is much more than enough, since it would be worth that entire building. His assistant says he will get the evaluation device in the laboratory, and the Four Eyes agrees since high-value items should be measured with the proper equipment. At that moment, the MC notices something beside him, and, seeing a mandrake in a jar, asks if he really has one, since as far as he remembers, he said he had none. Kim states that this one is dead, and that its medicinal effects have been gone for 10 years. The MC takes it in his hand and begins to emit his energy, looking attentively at the mandrake, until the Four Eyes becomes terrified by the result, since he had given a lot of mana to the mandrake before, and it had no effect. At that moment, some people enter the room. It was the executive director accompanied by his assistants. He approaches, saying that the office looks exactly like a slum, and says that he heard something extraordinary had arrived at the place. Kim becomes worried that his assistant might have contacted the executive director behind his back, and still praises the assistants, since they are excellent subordinates as well as twin power users, and therefore he asks who was the guy who presented the items. The MC asks if there is a problem. The executive director introduces himself as the person responsible for the largest alchemist association in the Golden City, and, for that reason, asks to accompany, ensuring that he will be well treated. Dawoon doesn't like this at all, as he was getting along well with manager Kim. The executive director keeps bragging about how important he is, but the only thing the MC can notice is the wart on his nose. The man admits he really has one, and Dawoon asks what his relationship with Bokdeok is. Handeok bursts into laughter and says that this person is his grandfather. The MC finally understands what is happening and remembers when he was a child, and a man in front of him said that monsters who aren't even human have no right to live, and even pointed out that he would throw him straight into the demonic realm. He said it with his hideous laughter. Remembering that, Dawoon releases an overwhelming energy that brings Handeok to his knees. The MC, with a completely different expression, asks if by any chance he is the kind of person who crushes others with power and takes everything he wants when greed strikes, making it clear that he should answer carefully. The executive director starts getting worried, trying to understand what is going on. Da-woon asks if the TDA research laboratory still exists. Han-deok doesn't understand anything, as he has never heard that name, and once again, the MC asks if he doesn't know the illegal Chimera research laboratory. The big-nosed man tells him not to insult the deceased, as his grandfather dedicated his whole life to research and guiding the new generation. He says that after retiring, his grandfather donated all his fortune to the families of the victims of the portals, and, for that contribution, won the Golden Peace Prize. The MC says, that's funny, since after killing so many in secret, he wanted to redeem himself by going public and making those donations, and confesses he thought that old man would last longer since he was an awakened one, but died sooner than expected, asking if it was because of the sequelae from the window fall. Han-deok is terrified since that incident wasn't public knowledge, and Da-woon simply says he knows that because he himself was the one who pushed him out of the window, as after turning kidnapped children into chimeras, the old man had threatened to push everyone into the demonic portal, and all he did was push him first through a window. Having said that, he states he will give him a chance, ordering him to go back and investigate Bokdeok and the TDA laboratory, making it clear that he will look for him when the time comes. With everything settled, he remembers that the first time he was subjected to biological experiments, he was only 9 years old, and after that, his monstrosity began at 20, and his memories from that point on became confused. All he did was follow orders and instincts. He reflects that apparently a long time has passed, and the name of the laboratory may have changed several times. At that moment, the alchemist returns, thanking him for waiting and showing the purified mana hole water made from mandrakes. The MC admits it was quite fast, though he expected nothing less from a rank A alchemist. Kim says that the ingredients were so good that he had no difficulties. Then he starts calculating how much the ingredients will cost, but the MC suggests making a personal contract and even says he will give the remaining synthesis ingredients. The contract period will be 10 years, and he himself will obtain the ingredients. All the alchemist will have to do is handle the synthesis. He is surprised to hear that since he will earn so much and begins to cry with emotion. The MC doesn't understand why he is crying, and Kim says he is a slum dweller and that when he was little, his parents took a huge loan from a loan shark, and he himself had promised to pay it back. But no matter how hard he tried, his whole life he stayed in the same place. With tears in his eyes, he wants to know how he could repay such kindness. The MC tells him not to worry about that, since he only wants them to work well together. Meanwhile, in the demonic world, Jia is holding Yubeom by the head, but he had foreseen that she would lose control, and even as he asks her to calm down, she can't contain herself and throws him with full force to the other side of the mountain. The Birdman laments for having arrived too late. Nari and Gu run to him, asking if he's okay, but Yubeom just stands up since he has a promise to fulfill, and both of them charge at each other, with all he wishes being that she will be happy in her next life. However, before their blows collide, the MC appears with a barrier, forcing the Birdman to retreat. Da-woon asks if the girl shouldn't be unconscious. Yubeom asks if that's a jellyfish, and seeing his sister's condition on the ground, asks if he's really going to do that to his little sister. Then he asks if there's news about the medicine, and he shows that there is, also telling him to give it to Jia right away. After that, at night, they make a campfire, and Jia keeps sleeping beside Nari until she finally opens her eyes and finds it strange to have a girl in front of her. She stands up, questioning if it's a dream, and when she looks ahead, she sees two people sitting by the fire. The MC turns around, and Jia gets scared, asking who is there. Nari wakes up from the scream and asks if Aunt Sparrow woke up. She doesn't understand who the hell Aunt Sparrow is. At that moment, Yubeom asks if she can see the mana hole, and Jia gets confused, but when she looks, she notices it's stable, and her face has also returned to normal. Because of that, she asks her brother what happened and who the people in that place are. He questions if she really doesn't know who he is after having talked about the MC the entire time. Jia doesn't believe it's possible, and looking at the MC, asks if he's really number 17. She goes to her brother and asks if it's true, and he replies yes, affirming that once again, they were saved by him. Da-woon turns and asks if there's more red moss. The Birdman laments. as there's no more, but Gia gets indignant, since clearly the MC has no empathy at all. Yet happy with what happened, she takes off her skeleton helmet and, with a smile on her face, thanks him for saving them. Nari notices a bright glow appearing in front of her and says something is shining in the sea. Gia says it's the sea fairy and explains that it's originally a seahorse monster that lives in the ocean depths and comes to the surface at night to play. Besides that, if you follow that fairy, you can see a shining yellow quartz. Hearing this makes an idea pop into Dawoon's head, since he was looking precisely for a quartz. And so he asks how long until sunrise. The Birdman says it will be soon, though he doesn't know why he's asking, and he says he'll be swimming in the sea after a long time. Meanwhile, on Earth, a scientist asks what the whereabouts of the mechanical creature are. The staff reply that they sent 10 rank B hunters to the forest zone, but all failed to capture it. They also inform that the rank A hunters who went to the coastal area suffered amnesia upon returning. Suddenly, his phone rings, and it's the executive director saying he has something he'd like to ask. And without wasting time, he questions if by any chance he knows a place called TDA Research Laboratory. That's all, folks. If you enjoy the video, subscribe and hit the bell. Thanks.